Okay, this lecture is to talk to you groups a little bit about the projects you're working on. Tomorrow, your deliverables are due. Wish you the best of luck. Hope you've all met with your clients. Looking forward to reviewing those, and so we can get moving forward on the projects. This is going to talk about kind of the next steps involved in the project. We have to get a few things done with those deliverables first, but I wanted to just get this done so those groups that feel comfortable moving forward can kind of start moving on this next step and getting it done. So what's going to happen, you're going to turn your deliverables to me tomorrow. I'm going to use all weekend to give you feedback, probably through Slack. We might have to iterate a little bit and talk about a few of these. I don't know, like I get a very wide range of success and failure here, and that's okay. That happens sometimes because your client's off the board, you guys not sure. I get it. So we've got to iterate and work through it a little bit and get everybody on the same page. We're going to do that pretty quickly. And in the meantime, I want you to start thinking about this next assignment. This next assignment is called Gantt charts. Now, Gantt charts are an antiquated terminology, but still the concept and the purpose is widely used today in project management, product management, any sort of management, okay? And the Gantt charts came about in the turn of the century. They've been used for many years. My undergrad degree is actually in information technology. And one of the things they taught us in IT leadership and implementation class was that at the time, this is early 2000s, and I hope it's better because we've made some improvements. But in the early 2000s, 65-ish% of IT implementations, large scale implementations, failed. Millions of dollars spent, and it didn't even work. Okay, and so they talked a lot about why this is happening. Just a failure after failure, that things weren't getting done on time was one of the big issues. That it was just like, okay, it's not working, let's scrap it, it's too expensive, let's do it over, let's start over, do something else, okay? So Gantt charts are a very useful way of helping to visualize the project. And everybody loves visual, right? It makes it easier, it's kind of comprehensive, that type of thing. But that's not the only reason, nor the main reason. And I want to show you here kind of my little drawing of why Gantt charts. And one of the reasons that so many projects fail is because of this concept of the bottleneck, right? So you got this bottle of whatever, and as it comes through the neck, it gets constricted and it slows down and it can't flow as fast. Well, projects get this kind of same issue all the time, whether it be resources, people, time, product, right? This happens, okay? And the Gantt chart purpose is to see if you can identify these potential issues before they arise and, if possible, mitigate them. So what can cause a bottleneck? Well, dependencies. Okay, dependencies is the key word here. Dependency is when a future task requires a previous task to either be completed or have some sort of level of completion before it can get started, right? So if we know that there's a dependency in our project, we know that if that previous task is not completed when we expected it to be, then that next task is clearly not going to be completed on time because it's dependent on the previous one finishing. These dependencies pop up all over the place in projects. It can be multiple dependencies, single dependencies. It could be a pretty complex project that has a lot of these that end up being potential failure points for projects. We also find out through Gantt charts that maybe we're bottlenecked with resources, right? Maybe it's a single individual who is tasked with something pretty significant that nobody else knows how to do. Well, what if that person gets sick or isn't really as good as they say they are, right? What things could we do now to mitigate that? Well, we might bring in some consultants, right? We might teach someone else. Okay, we might find out at the beginning of our project that we don't have the resources to get the project done in the time we claim we're going to get it done. Okay, what do we do there? This happens a lot in construction, right? We bid a big project. We're like, okay, we want it. It's multi hundreds of $1 million project, but then all of a sudden our concrete supplier we know can't supply enough concrete because they don't make enough. We have to go use someone else, right? So these are things we learn about by designing the flow and the requirements of our project before we get started on it, or at least kind of in the initial phases of it. So Gantt charts are that exact thing, is to help us flow out the tasks that are associated with the milestones and the things that we want to accomplish. And I want your groups to design a Gantt chart for your teams. Now I'm going to walk through the traditional Gantt chart model and how to do it in just a minute on the computer. But I want you to see here on the board, there are tools out there that you should probably recognize a couple of these names that have built in basically Gantt charts. Now, one of the things we use today is affinity diagrams, okay? Where you've probably been a part of this, or you've seen post-it notes all over the walls, and then they organize the post-it notes into tasks and categories and those type of things. Well, if you've ever played in Trello or Monday or Basecamp, you've basically done that. And those are a new kind of model of Gantt charts, a new visualization of projects and assignments and resources and tasks and those type of things. Asana, which is one that I used, I loved a lot. I still love. My teams don't love it as much because it's got a higher learning curve to begin with. But Asana was built more on the old school model of Gantt charts, and is now recently, I haven't been in it as much, but I understand now they do the post-it note kind of model. I don't know if you can flip between the two. But when I talk about this assignment and getting it done, I want you to know that if someone or someone's in your group are familiar with these tools and have access to them, you are more than welcome to do this assignment. And I actually encourage you to do the assignment with those tools as they're modern day tools, and as the entire group could then add these to your resume. And if you know one, you can familiarize yourself with another pretty easily, okay? If not, you can revert back to what I'm going to show you today and a couple examples and tools that you can design kind of the familiar Gantt chart as it is still used a lot in a lot of different ways, okay? So this assignment, I've got it posted already. I've got a due date, but let me walk you through some of the resources that I have available, some of the expectations that I have for you. So I'm going to do that here on the screen, kind of walk you through the assignment. Okay. So, Gantt chart. That's the assignments due September 21st. Happens to be my birthday. I'll be in class that night. I don't even give myself the night off for my birthday, especially this one. It's a sad one. I am turning a new decade, so I'm not happy. But anyway, that's my woes. All right. Okay. So, Gantt chart. Let me walk you start by just kind of showing the visual example of what it looks like that we just mentioned, okay? So, here's kind of a good visualization of, let me zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see it, okay? Of what a Gantt chart would look like, okay? So over here on the left are the milestones. They might be your project deliverables. You don't have to design it that way. It just depends on how your project flows. But over here, and then less bold are the tasks, okay, that are associated with it. So every semester I get the same question. How many tasks should we associate with the deliverables? Well, the answer is it depends. Some deliverables have more tasks than others. You could possibly have an infinite number of tasks if you really wanted to. So the benchmark that I would go by is that when you're done with this, I want to see somewhere between 30 to 40 tasks. So if you've got 4 or 5 deliverables, that's anywhere from 6 to 10 tasks per deliverable. But you might have more or less in different categories. So let's say anywhere from 25 to 40 in your various areas of tasks that you have assigned, okay? Then you have people. Some Gantt charts allow you to assign multiple people. Some just allow you to assign the project leader or the task leader for that category. Okay. Then you've got kind of the completion rate. Usually a tool will tell you kind of where you're at. And then you somewhere, and this tool doesn't show you, but somewhere you either put how many weeks it's going to take, how many days it's going to take, or the actual date you're going to start and finish it. Okay. So here we've got this task, book musicians in this case, and here's the things we have to do. Now, the interesting thing on this is if you look at this task and this task, they're independent of each other, and one starts in the middle of this one. So these aren't dependent. But if you look at this one here, okay, this is showing me and saying, okay, this task cannot start till this task's finished. This is a dependency of this task. This is kind of an important point on our project, and on down the various. And so now I have a visualization of the various milestones, of the various tasks, of what's getting done, when is it getting done, and the project being completed. Okay, so, and again, this is all in the assignment. Now, how do you go about doing this? Well, I've got a really nice PDF here that walks you through how to build a Gantt chart, okay? Very easy to use, walks you through kind of what's the purpose of, why it is, then come down to these steps, okay? These steps are great. Walk through these steps and you'll have a pretty good, at least, outline of what your Gantt chart is. And then you just got to find the software that you're going to put it in. But I want to walk you through this case study example because this is really, really important. This is what I want to see done when you finish your Gantt chart, okay? They've just got their activity. They've got some sort of lettering here, okay? Here's the actual description of it. Predecessors, okay? In other words, this is really important. They call it predecessors, I call it dependencies. Meaning, what has to get done before that task can get done? So C, activity C cannot be done until activity A is complete, okay? A dependency. D, not until B is done, a dependency. I really, really want you to identify in this assignment your dependencies if you have some, okay? And you need to be able to explain them to me in some way. This is probably one of the hardest parts of the assignment. By using these templates, it's not so easy sometimes, okay? So, built-in template, smartsheet.com. It's got some Google Sheets you can download, you can use, okay? So if you're gonna end up using Google Sheets, you can actually go, I don't know if you've ever done this, but you can actually go into Google Sheets and find templates already built. And there's a lot. They're not all the best, but I've got more down here of kind of pre-built Google templates for project sheets. Okay, I've got a couple of tools that students have used in the past: Team Gantt, Bitrix, and TeamWeek. It just, if you use Team Gantt, which is a really good one, it looks very good. It does everything we asked it to do. Only has 3 accounts, so I recommend one for the team, one for me, and one for your client, because I want your clients to be invited to and see this kind of project flow charts that you're creating. Okay. So what are you doing in this assignment? You are developing your Gantt chart, okay? You know what the due date is. Basically, this the first or second week after Thanksgiving is when we'll give our presentations. You know things have to be done by then. You can work backwards from there, okay? In terms of what has to be done. What am I looking for? All right? Completeness of the chart. It's done, it's complete. Dependencies. This is sometimes hard to show in the assignment. So if your template doesn't easily show me dependencies, you need to explain them to me, whether that's in a document, whether there's a key. So Trello doesn't really do a great job of dependencies. So what I've had groups do in the past is they've color-coded them. They said, okay, so reds are dependent on yellows, and yellows are dependent on blues, and if it's just green, it has no dependencies, or something like that, okay? So, but you have to make sure it's intuitive, it's easy for me to see, that you understand what things are important in the project, okay? And then, of course, a good use and understanding of the template and tool. I don't expect it to be perfect. This is your first time doing this, but I need you to practice with this. I want it on your resume. I want you to have experience with this. I actually have a student, digital marketing student named Riley. He's now working at the University of Utah. Went and interviewed with them. And he called me up and said, hey, professor, I got the job. 2 reasons why. I was Hootsuite certified, and I knew what a Gantt chart was. Awesome. Okay. So whether you use it in a different tool or you use Gantt charts as they are or have they been designed, I don't care. But it's still very relevant to project management, and I want you guys to visualize I identify the dependencies so we know where this project might go. I mean, that's the question I might have. And when I say good use and understanding the template and tool, I want everybody in the group to understand this Gantt chart. I will come into your Slack channel. I will ask one of you, hey, something about your tool, about your Gantt chart, whether it be what's your most critical deadline? What are you most worried about? What are your tasks? What are so-and-so's tasks, right? As I review this, and I'd be randomized who I pick to answer that. This is a tool, a visualization I want everybody in the group to be familiar with. Now, you may assign it to one person. I don't recommend that, but whatever you decide to do, the entire team needs to be on board with this tool and with using it, okay? So in the assignment, lots of links, lots of things you can do, but of course you can also use other tools that you're familiar with that are similar to it. Now, while I've got your attention, I want to talk about some other assignments that I published and talk to you a little bit about them in the groups, okay? So the Gantt chart's due September 21st. Again, your deliverables are due to me tomorrow. I will review this weekend. We might iterate next week. We'll get this Gantt chart done and we'll be rolling, okay? In the meantime, if you're pretty confident in your deliverables, right? If you at least know we've got a good one. If you don't, either way, on October 5th, I have this content review direction content. What I'm looking for on October 5th is I'm looking for work done for your client, okay? I don't want us to get to the end of the semester and you start working for the client. So this is a checkpoint where you've got content, and I mean content done, whether it be a design strategy, a branding strategy, a written blog. I don't know, every project's a little bit different. But this is where you're showing me that we've done 6 weeks worth of work, we've got some content, and we're gonna show it to me, we're gonna talk about it, and then we're gonna show it to the client. This is your opportunity to get the client to be on board with maybe a branding direction, a social media direction, a design direction, a content direction, whatever it might be, an audit and a review, whatever it might be. This is your time to say, client, are you on board, or do we need to shift gears? Do we need to change the ship? What do we need to do? You need to show it to me. You'll turn it in to me because this is online. Usually I do it with groups, but you'll turn something in to me. If you want, right, if you want to discuss it and review it, let's set up a Slack meeting or another meeting. Let's just get on a call and we can review it that way. I'm okay with that. Or if you just want to turn it in to me and kind of walk me through it, make me believe that 6 of you have been working on a project solid for 2 weeks, and then we'll send it out to the client, okay? And then we'll talk about these other projects there. But this is what you've got coming up. This is what's coming due. I want you to get to work. I want these clients to be impressed. That's the most important thing. These clients actually are a significant part of your grade. Is, did you accomplish? Were you professional? Did you communicate well? And I grade your clients as well too. So we'll talk more about that in terms of grading. But hopefully most groups have had a good meeting and can move forward with their project. And I'll do my best this weekend to review the work that you've got. Again, if you have any questions, shoot me an email, shoot me a Slack, let me know. If you have suggestions, ideas, those type of things. But I'm posting this now so that those groups that feel confident can start moving forward. Those that we've got to review and talk about, we'll get to that too. Okay, so good luck, and look forward to seeing your guys' project deliverables.